Welcome to Economic Frontiers, the podcast where we dive deep into the economic issues shaping our world today. I'm your host, Alex Morgan, and on today's episode, we're tackling a topic that affects millions of people across the globe, the high cost of living and unemployment crisis. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Dr. Hannah Reeves, a distinguished economist specializing in labor markets and economic inequality. Dr. Reeves has advised governments and international organizations on economic policy and is the author of Navigating Economic Turbulence, a roadmap for sustainable recovery. Dr. Reeves, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Alex. It's a pleasure to be here and discuss these critical issues that are affecting so many lives.
Let's start by setting the stage with some current data. According to recent figures, we're seeing inflation at 2.9% as of August 2025, which is up from 2.7% earlier this year. Meanwhile, OECD unemployment has stabilized at around 4.9%, though this varies dramatically from country to country. Dr. Reeves, what's your assessment of where we stand economically right now?
Those headline figures only tell part of the story, Alex. While an inflation rate of 2.9% might not seem alarming compared to the peaks we saw in 2022 when it reached over 9%, we need to look at the cumulative impact of sustained price increases over time. Housing costs, food prices, healthcare, and education have all outpaced wage growth for many households. The unemployment rate of 4.9% masks significant disparities. We're seeing rates as low as 2.5% in Japan and over 30% in South Africa. Moreover, these figures don't capture the underemployed, those who've left the workforce entirely, or those working multiple jobs just to make ends meet.
That's an important distinction. Can you help us understand the root causes of the current economic situation we're facing? What factors have led to this perfect storm of high living costs and unemployment challenges?
I'd identify several interconnected causes. First, we're still feeling the after effects of the global pandemic, which disrupted supply chains and labor markets in unprecedented ways. Second, geopolitical tensions have reshaped global trade patterns, with recent tariff policies contributing to rising consumer goods prices. Economists are reporting that core commodities prices rose 1.5% in August compared to last year, the fastest increase in over a decade outside pandemic effects. Third, demographic shifts are creating labor shortages in some sectors while younger populations in other regions struggle to find work. Fourth, technological advancement, particularly AI, is transforming job requirements faster than many workers can adapt. And finally, climate-related events have disrupted agriculture and energy markets, adding pressure to food and utility costs.
Those are substantial headwinds. Let's dive deeper into the cost of living issue. What specific factors are driving up costs for everyday people, and why has this become such a persistent problem?
Housing is perhaps the most significant factor. In many urban areas, housing costs have increased at rates far exceeding inflation or wage growth. This is due to limited housing supply, zoning restrictions, speculation in real estate markets, and increased costs of construction materials. For many families, housing now consumes 30 to 50% of their income, leaving little room for other necessities.
And that's just for housing. What about other essential costs?
Exactly. Food prices have seen significant volatility with climate change affecting harvests globally. Healthcare costs continue to rise at rates faster than general inflation in many countries. Energy prices, while somewhat stabilized recently, remain vulnerable to geopolitical tensions. Education costs, particularly higher education, have outpaced inflation for decades. And let's not forget transportation. Whether it's fuel for personal vehicles or public transportation fares, these costs have increased substantially. The cumulative effect is that many families find themselves running faster just to stay in place financially.
It's striking how these factors compound each other. Now let's turn to unemployment. Despite the seemingly modest overall unemployment rate, you mentioned there are deeper issues at play. Can you elaborate on what's happening in labor markets?
The headline unemployment rate masks several concerning trends. First is the issue of labor force participation. In the U.S., for example, participation has slipped to 62.2%, meaning a significant portion of working-age people aren't employed or seeking work. Second is the quality of available jobs. Many are temporary, part-time, or gig economy positions without benefits or stability. Third is the skills mismatch. Employers report difficulty filling positions requiring specific technical skills, while workers with outdated skills struggle to find employment. Fourth is geographic disparity. Some regions have vibrant job markets, while others face chronic unemployment. And finally, there's the challenge of wage stagnation. Even those who are employed full-time often find their wages aren't keeping pace with living costs.
That's a comprehensive overview. I'm curious about how these two issues, high costs of living and unemployment challenges, interact and potentially reinforce each other.
They create a vicious cycle, Alex. When living costs rise faster than wages, people have less disposable income, which means reduced spending on non-essentials. This dampens economic activity, leading businesses to cut back on hiring or even lay off workers. Unemployed or underemployed individuals then have even less to spend, further reducing demand in the economy. Additionally, economic insecurity makes people less likely to take entrepreneurial risks or invest in education, which could otherwise create new job opportunities and increase productivity. The result is a stagnant economy where both businesses and workers feel squeezed.
We're about halfway through our conversation, and I think this is a good moment to shift towards solutions. Before we do, let's take a brief break. You're listening to Economic Frontiers, and we're discussing the high cost of living and unemployment crisis with Dr. Hannah Reeves. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Economic Frontiers. I'm Alex Morgan, and we're discussing the high cost of living and unemployment crisis with Dr. Hannah Reeves. Dr. Reeves, before the break, you gave us a comprehensive picture of the challenges we're facing. Now let's focus on solutions. What approaches do you see as most promising for addressing these interconnected issues?
I believe we need a multifaceted approach that addresses both immediate relief and long-term structural changes. For the cost of living crisis, immediate solutions include targeted assistance programs for housing, food, and utilities for vulnerable populations, rent stabilization measures in high-cost areas, and expanding affordable housing supply can help address the housing component. In the longer term, we need to review zoning laws that restrict housing development, invest in public transportation to make more affordable areas accessible, and implement policies that encourage wage growth tied to productivity increases.
Those sound like sensible approaches to the cost of living issue. What about unemployment and underemployment?
For unemployment, skills training and job placement programs are crucial. We need to better align education with evolving industry needs and provide pathways for workers to transition from declining sectors to growing ones. Supporting small and medium enterprises is also vital, as they generate a significant portion of new jobs. This could include access to capital, reduced regulatory burdens, and tax incentives for hiring and training.
I've read that some countries are experimenting with different approaches to work itself, things like 4-day work weeks or universal basic income. Do you think these kinds of structural changes to our conception of work could be part of the solution?
These approaches definitely deserve consideration. According to recent data, over 2.7 million UK workers, about 11% of the workforce, now report working a 4-day week, with benefits including higher motivation, improved recruitment, and cost savings. Work-sharing programs where available hours are distributed among more workers can reduce unemployment while improving work-life balance. Universal basic income or negative income tax proposals could provide a safety net that allows people to pursue education, care for family members, or start businesses. These approaches recognize that traditional full-time employment may not be the only model for economic security in the future.
You mentioned the role of small businesses in job creation. How might entrepreneurship be further encouraged as part of the solution?
Entrepreneurship is a powerful job creator, but barriers to entry remain high for many. We need to address access to capital, particularly for underrepresented groups who historically have faced discrimination in lending. Simplifying regulations for startups, providing mentorship and business development services, and creating innovation hubs in economically disadvantaged areas can all stimulate entrepreneurship. Educational institutions can also play a role by incorporating entrepreneurial skills into curricula at all levels.
Climate change came up earlier as a factor affecting costs. Could addressing climate change actually be part of the economic solution as well?
Absolutely. The transition to a greener economy presents significant job creation opportunities. Renewable energy, energy-efficient construction, public transportation infrastructure, and environmental remediation all require workers across skill levels. According to the World Economic Forum, we're already seeing increased demand for renewable energy engineers, electric vehicle specialists, and various environmental roles. With proper investment in training programs, addressing climate change could be an economic driver rather than just a cost.
Let's talk about technology. Earlier you mentioned AI as potentially disrupting labor markets, but could technology also be part of the solution?
Technology is a double-edged sword. While it can displace certain jobs, it also creates new ones and can increase productivity, potentially leading to economic growth and higher wages. The key is ensuring that the benefits of technological advancement are widely shared. This means investing in digital infrastructure to increase access, providing continuous learning opportunities for workers to adapt to technological change, and perhaps even exploring new models of ownership or profit sharing that distribute the gains from technology more equitably.
You provided many thoughtful approaches. If policymakers came to you tomorrow asking for your top 3 recommendations to address these crises, what would you tell them?
First, I'd recommend comprehensive housing policy reform, increasing supply through zoning changes, providing targeted assistance for those most affected by high housing costs, and addressing speculative practices in real estate markets. Second, I'd suggest investing in a skills infrastructure that provides accessible, ongoing education and training aligned with evolving labor market needs. And third, I'd advocate for strengthening social safety nets while removing barriers to work. Things like affordable childcare, healthcare reform, and transportation infrastructure that make it possible for people to participate fully in the economy.
Those are excellent recommendations. As we start to wrap up our conversation, I'm curious about your outlook for the future. Are you optimistic about our ability to address these challenges?
I'm cautiously optimistic, Alex. Economic history shows that we've faced and overcome significant challenges before. What gives me hope is that we're seeing increased recognition of these issues across the political spectrum and among the public. The data suggests that when implemented thoughtfully, the solutions I've described can make a real difference. But I'm also realistic about the obstacles. Polarized politics, entrenched interests, and the sheer complexity of global economic systems. Success will require sustained commitment, evidence-based policies, and genuine concern for those most affected by these crises.
That's a balanced perspective. Before we conclude, is there anything important about this topic that you feel we haven't covered?
I think it's worth emphasizing that addressing these economic challenges isn't just about numbers and policies, it's about values and the kind of society we want to create. Economic security provides the foundation for people to pursue their potential, contribute to their communities, and live with dignity. The solutions we choose will reflect what we truly value as a society. Do we value shared prosperity, opportunity for all, and sustainable well-being? If so, we need economic policies that align with those values. I believe most people, regardless of political affiliation, want an economy that works for everyone, and that common ground gives me hope.
Dr. Reeves, thank you for that thoughtful conclusion and for sharing your expertise with us today. Your insights on both the causes of our current economic challenges and potential solutions have been invaluable. To our listeners, we hope this discussion has provided you with a deeper understanding of these complex issues and perhaps some ideas for addressing them in your own communities and through civic engagement.
Thank you, Alex. It's been a pleasure discussing these important topics with you, and I hope our conversation contributes to the ongoing dialogue about building a more inclusive and sustainable economy.
That was Dr. Hannah Reeves, economist and author, discussing the high costs of living and unemployment crisis. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to Economic Frontiers wherever you get your podcasts, and join us next week when we'll be exploring the economic implications of artificial intelligence. Until then, I'm Alex Morgan. Thanks for listening.